The amount of people that related to my latest video about me working at Ross, appalling. It really made me want to throat punch somebody. When I say this, I don't want it to fire a fury in your heart because I know, you know how with every situation, there are pros versus cons, right? Are there any pros to working in the service industry? We learn how to deal with the public. We work well in intense environments. We can do well with yelling and abusive behavior. Yes, being able to put on my resume, just that alone, the fact that I could be abused, really got me a lot of jobs. Think about that. I know how to work well in hostile environments. I know how to diffuse a situation. Tell me not. They love it. They love it. Anyways, into the story, girl. Now with that in mind, I want y'all to be hella honest. I ain't even gonna lie. Some of the best entertainment that money can't buy happened because I was working retail. I'm gonna be girl. God, okay, firstly, one of my Glamazons commented on my last video and she was talking to me about like she works at Old Navy and like, you know, some of the experiences that she had there, and it really unlocked a memory for me that I'm gonna tell you guys in my next video. Promise. Shh, don't be getting mad at me. You know me. Look, this story time, listen, twists, turns, and all the things. So buckle in, girl, grab your wine, snacks, everything you need. Once upon a time, not long ago, your girl was at my shitty school, and I was very young. I cannot remember at this point in time in my life, I cannot remember if I was a freshman or a sophomore, but you know, I was hella young. In Texas, it was the tax test for me, and I also had the CSAP, okay? I know that ain't the same no more. You ain't got to tell me. Anyways, it's around the time of year where we're taking our end of year final exams, and it's a huge thing, and they warn you weeks in advance. There's a new schedule that you have to follow. You got to be in a new class all freaking day with like people that you don't even know, just in case, because they don't want you, you know, trying to cheat with your friends. That week comes around and I'm taking my state tests. I go to this weird part of the school that I've never been to, and it's a small ass classroom and a bunch of random people come in. There's got to be at least one of my friends, like at least. Girl, no, not one. Everything was sufficiently awkward. Along with testing, you have all of these rules and you cannot talk and how you go to the bathroom. Y'all know the dealio, right? So this happens all week long. It really sucks. It's literally the worst. I don't know if you guys can see a pattern in me yet, you know, being my besties, my home skillet biscuits, but your girl really tries to think of things in terms of like the silver lining, really pros and cons. The pro to this entire situation, girl, I had to be sneaky. Why? Because I had a strict mama, okay? And all my home skillets that come from strict parents, y'all know we got to get a little creative. You know, my mom didn't really pay attention to that. She knew that I would get off early on those days, but she didn't know how early. Like, she didn't know it down to the time, you know what I'm saying? Now, at the end of regular days, absolutely. So the pro for me is that I took advantage of the fact that, you know, I had like, you know, maybe an hour and a half to play around with where my mom wasn't going to ask any questions after school. So I would go hang out with my friends, go to Target, like, you know, be running around Walgreens, you know what I'm saying? Like, just little stuff like that. All day would suck. And I would purposely miss my school bus, and I would get on the RTD and I would go do whatever I wanted to do with my friends, right? And I had kind of gotten to know and come familiar with the kids that I was testing with. And one of them in particular, she sat next to me every single day. And we're gonna name her, I don't even know if I remember her name. We're gonna name her Karina, okay? Karina, gorgeous thing. I mean, when I tell you, like, she was like a showstopper gorgeous, and she was so tiny. She was like a very tiny, petite person, very soft-spoken, and she was very nice. And so when we had like, you know, after the last point, like the last 5 minutes before we were released, they would like let us talk, and she and I started talking, and she was so nice. Like, I think she was probably like the nicest person I met at that school, and I was so shocked that I had never met her before. So, you know, we hit it off really well. It was like the last day, like I said. And so, you know, I asked her, I was like, hey, what you doing after this? Because, you know, your girl's free. Like, oh, I think, you know, I'm gonna have my cousin come pick me up and we're gonna go do this and that. I don't remember what she said. And I was like, oh, okay. And so we start talking, and it turns out she was leaving the building on the same direction that I was leaving because I was going to the RTD bus. So I was like, oh, okay, I'll walk with you because my bus stop is right there. And she was like, okay, cool. So we go to each other's lockers, we get our stuff, and I start, you know, just walking towards the exit that we're supposed to go to. And she was like, no. She was like, no, we gotta go this way. And I was like, no, it's that way. Like, girl, what you talking about? She was like, no, the daycare. I gotta go get my son. So, fun fact, this was the first time that I found out that we had a daycare at the school. Yeah, you know, it's like right near the lunchroom. It's like in the back part. They have a daycare. And I was like, what? So we start walking over there and she doesn't really elaborate. So I'm like, oh my God. So I just observe. Like, this was so mind-boggling to me. We were like 15, 16 years old, okay? So, and none of my friends had a baby. And so like in high school, like this is kind of mind-boggling. And I follow her and we go into the lunchroom and sure enough, there's like a small line of like 3 or 4 girls and one dude. And they're standing outside this door and it's like one of those like half doors and you go up there, girl, and it's straight up as a daycare. They had like the little outdoor area for them to play. And yeah, so she signed out her son and he was real little, right? And so she introduces me to him and I'm like, oh my God, like he's so cute. That's specifically why she came to this school, because they have childcare and all of that. And I'm sitting here looking at her like I was trying to go to Target to go like look around and just window shop and get me some hot Cheetos. Like, this is crazy that you have. I couldn't even imagine at that time having that type of responsibility. So I'm just like listening to her plight, like, oh my God, like I would definitely fail. Like, she starts telling me about her baby dad, and like her baby dad was older, out of high school. And yeah, so anyways, girl, we leave, okay? And we go out the end of the building and there's like this large hill at the bottom near a stop sign. She was like, oh, my cousin's gonna meet me right there. And literally right across the street was my bus stop. So I was like, all right, cool. I'll just wait with you until your cousin gets here. I don't even know what to talk to her about this point. This is the first time that I could not relate to somebody. And you know, when I can't relate, I ain't even going front. I'm not gonna pretend like I can relate. So I just stay quiet and listen to, you know, her story. So I'm so enthralled into her story and I'm like, oh my gosh. And you know, we're passing her baby back and forth because he's just like so active and so cute. I'm like holding the baby and I'm listening to her, and all of a sudden she just snatches her baby from me and she was like, oh my God, what the fuck? Like, what the fuck is he doing here? Girl, she's looking past me and I look behind me and there's like these 2 guys that are walking on the same sidewalk as us, and they're like hella tall, nobody that I recognize. And I'm looking at her and I'm like, what the fuck? And like, she's not saying anything. She's backing up and she was like, what the fuck, Tony? Like, what are you doing here? And I'm like, oh shit, right? I don't even have enough time to ask questions. I can just read the room. This is screaming baby daddy. And I'm looking at her like, do I need to run? Like, you need to let me know who you're involved with. Like, what is this? I don't know what to do. I step back, girl, they start like going back and forth. It was very calm. And she was like, Tony, like, what are you doing here? And he was like, I want to see my son. I told you, you know, like you could come over, whatever. And he was like, well, you know, I was working. And they start going back and forth, right? I'm sitting there like up near the grass. And this other dude, his friend, is like on the sidewalk. And me and him are just looking at each other like, why'd this boy come over here and stand next to me talk about, so what's up? I know you fucking lying. Ain't your cousin coming? Like, where's your cousin? She like tells him, she was like, my cousin is coming to get us, so like hurry up, right? So she hands the baby over to him and he's like talking to his son, and you know, things started to calm down, girl. I thought I was about to be in the midst of some drama, but they, you know, but it turned out to be pretty peaceful. But I don't feel comfortable leaving her here still, because literally like there's hardly anybody on this side of the school. There's two of them, one of her, you know what I'm saying? Math ain't mathin'. Blue car comes like bumping down the street. Huge sound system. I mean, you can hear them from blocks away, right? Karina looks over at her baby daddy and she was like, that's my cousin. Come on, like, stay by. So this blue car pulls up and the window rolls down and this girl leans forward, and I mean, she is like tatted out, okay? Y'all, immediately the baby dad and the cousin, like they start like just bickering, not full on arguing, but just like bickering and like what the ever, and like how about your child support bitch, like whatever, right? At this point, I'm a bounce. Like my girl got her back up, I gotta go. So, you know, very quickly I was like, Karina, bye girl, I'll see you later. Like, it was cool. Take off, I go across the street, I catch my bus, I go on with my business, okay? It was just a very like weird moment, just very, I don't know, random. Me and Karina, you know, we keep in touch or whatever, and she would text me and we started meeting up at the mall, especially over the summer. I walk in and her cousin is with her, the same one that was with her that day, right? And we're gonna name her. We're gonna name her Tamara, okay? So I end up meeting Tamara, you know, while we're hanging out at the mall, and you know, she was real cool. She was only like 19, 20 years old, and she had gone to our high school. She had graduated from there. there. And yeah, so she helped out, you know, Karina all the time because, and like they told me their story, and she had actually been helping out Karina with her baby and stuff. Kind of crazy to see, you know, somebody, you feel like what you're going through is hard, but then you meet somebody that has it harder than you, and it just really humbles you. That was like this moment because I saw how young they were, because I remember going to the mall and like talking to them about this. Like Karina had a job already, and she had her baby, and she had school, and then her cousin had her job, and like they would, you know, help each other out, and they would share gas for that car, and like they were really coming together to try to make this shit work. And so, you know, I definitely went home a lot more grateful for the life that I had. Like, you know, maybe what I'm going through ain't that bad. You know, one time hanging out turned into 2, turned into 3, turned into 4. Good handful of times that, you know, we saw each other, we hung out, we went to the movies, you know, whatever, right? All of a sudden, I move away. I know, shocker. Karina and I stayed in touch for maybe like, I don't know, a year after that. Life happened. We lost touch. No big deal. Life moves on, okay? Fast forward. I'm working at Ross, dressed for less. I'm working, looking cute as per usual. It's like kind of like a slow day. They had me at the register. And not only did they have me at the register, they had me at the first one, bitch. Like the very first one, the one that's like right in front of the front doors. Yeah, girl, right near, girl, can we talk about the security guards? And I hated it, bitch, because he had to stand like right here. And the only thing separating us was like this really thin, like double-sided ad stand where, you know, like we could slip in posters. And girl, he would like be like creeping me out. Like he would be like standing on the other side of that and like, you know, be staring, and I'm like beep. People weren't there, like we're just like standing there, and he was very creepy, and like I had to have awkward conversation with him all day, and I hated it. It was the worst day ever. And this worst day was about to get a lot more interesting. So fast forward, right? An influx of people. They come in and, Nikki, we need you on the cash register. And I was like, I still got my 3 minutes. I will see you in my 3 minutes. I sure did. Every second counts. Why? For some reason, they decide, oh, we saved the first register for you. We saved it. And I was like, y'all, you didn't have to? You know, who else was you? Why'd you do that? After a little while, it starts dying down a bit. Girl and her friend, you know, they're standing in the line, and so I call them over, and you know, they're kind of in the middle of their own conversation. You know, I say hi. I make sure to say hi, okay? I start scanning their stuff. They, you know, just have a few things, and we're just having, you know, little idle chit chat. This girl behind her starts walking towards the door, and like literally right behind the customers that are in front of me. And so I see her walk towards the door, and she's like huffing and puffing, and there's somebody behind her that's like telling her, no, like don't, like just, it's not even that big of a deal or something like that. She turned around and she was like, no, like I'm not, because I'm not gonna be able to control myself. I'm not, like I will go to jail. I need to get the fuck away from that hoe. Something along those lines. The girls in front of me, they literally look up at me. I'm looking at them, and I'm like we're trying to speak telepathically, and they're like, what the fuck is going on? I'm like, bitch, I don't know. So I look behind them, and why is this girl looking steady at the girl that is right in front of me, okay? And she is staring a hole in the back of this girl's head. So the girl in front of me finally turns around. Oh, fuck my life. Y'all, I didn't know what to do. Beep. I think I'm a nervous scanner, bitch, because every time something would go down, I was just like, beep, beep. So I keep going, right? And I start packing my stuff, and girl, the minute that those two like caught eyes, it was on from there. That girl was like, no, I know you see me. Oh, you're gonna act like you don't see me now? Like, this is why, whatever. And she like kept talking. The girl in front of me is like really, she's trying to keep it together. And she's like, oh my God. She was like, can you just like, what's my total? She literally gets through her entire transaction, and this girl is just steady, right? And there's somebody next to her that's like standing in front of her, and I can only see the back of their head. And it's a girl, and you know, she's like literally standing in front of the girl at the door, and she's like, just go. Like, let's just go. Like, it's old shit. Like, come on. Like, you always do this. She is holding it together, and her friend, my customer's friend, is telling my customer, girl, let's just go. Do not pay attention to her. Do not give into it. Like, just ignore her. And the customer, I'm trying to make sure that I don't get y'all confused, okay? So there's the customer's friend, and then this girl who's like yelling, and then that girl's friend, okay? So there's 4 involved. Okay, would you like your receipt? And she was like, yeah. So I give her the bag, and I give her the receipt, and immediately she just hands it over to her friend. And like, okay, I know what that means. When like I see a girl hand her stuff over to her friend. Okay, and it was at that moment that I knew it was about to be on and pop. Where that other girl was standing and yelling was the only entrance and exit in and out of this store. So they had to pass each other, right? And I look at my security guard dude that works with me. Hey, like, and I'm sitting there looking at him like, can you do something? Because like, y'all, she has been talking and talking and talking. He has not stepped forward. He's sitting there just like holding on to his belt all like just like watching this entire thing. And I was like, hello, like, can you intervene so that, you know, my customer can walk out? Like, what the fuck? Like, come on, what are you doing, y'all? He was just like front row seat watching, you know, like, what's the issue? Like, you can't be behaving like that in here, whatever. So while he's talking to her, you know, the two girls that I was helping, they're like trying to leave, and they're just kind of going by slowly and trying to mind their business. Girl, my customer did not even get to the door, and she really tried to hold it together. But this girl said something to her, and she could not contain it anymore. And she did the, you know what? And like, you know, where like she had it, and she was like, you know what? It's funny that you say that because, and like, girl, that boom, like they just start going at it and arguing. And all of a sudden the security guard is in between them, and the girl that like started all this, like she's literally like trying to lunge at this girl that I helped. Both of their friends are in it, trying to pull them back from each other. The big old security guard in the middle, I hear a smack, and like it is on and popping, bitch. I don't know who slapped who first. All I know is that my customer, she grabbed that girl by the hair. She literally did a half moon with the bitch and like took her down by the hair and went around the feet of the security guard and like pulled her towards her and like starts just like going at her. Both of them end up on the ground. Like there's hands flying everywhere, hair, legs everywhere, kicking. I mean, I don't even know who's winning at this point. It just looks like a muddle of people, okay? Both of their friends are just like hunching over them, but they can't get to them because this security guard is like bending down, and he grabs the girl that started it. And like he grabs whoever's on top, and it was her. So he starts literally like prying her off of my customer. You know, the whole like grab around the waist, and she's like kicking and screaming. My coworkers have already notified the manager. Okay, they're already running around. I'm here. Look, okay, like this. What else am I supposed to do? Jump in? As he's pulling her off, she starts yelling at the girl that was like my customer. We were fucking friends, and you gonna sit up there and fuck him? I start getting word that the police have been called. And so, you know, my coworkers are like, yeah, the police are on their way. And the security guard is doing a pretty good job at keeping them separated, right? My manager's getting involved, and like they're talking to everybody. And so before I know it, there's like, you know, 6 or 7 people in the front, and they're trying to keep them separated until the police get here, because this has been like, you know, a physical altercation. These two girls are still like yelling at each other every few seconds, but like they're talking to, you know, the manager or the security guard or whatever, answering questions, whatever. At this point, because everybody's separated like by group, I'm like looking around, and I'm like, oh my God, like how did this happen? And me and my coworkers are like, oh my God, and we're just like sipping the tea, right? So I'm like just looking at the whole scenario. The minute that my eyes fall on her, her eyes fall on me. And in the crowd, in the thick of it, the friend of the girl that started it was none other than Tamara, Karina's cousin. From my shitty high school, you know? Recognition hits my face, recognition hits her face, and she gonna sit out there and be like, what's up? And I was like, what are you doing? She starts walking towards me. Security guard stops her. What are you doing? Where are you going? Like, no, you need to stay here. And she was like, no, that's my homie. Like, Nikki, like, tell him, like, we know each other. And he was like, I don't care if you know her or not. Like, that's not what I'm asking you. You need to stay here until the police get here. And like, you know, he was like stopping her. Y'all, she got an attitude so fast. She was like, are you serious? Like, she gonna sit up here. And she was like, Nikki, get a hold of me. Why she over there yelling out her number? 720. And I was like, I ripped off a receipt paper and I wrote down the number because I got to get all this tea, okay? My coworkers, my managers, they're just looking at me like, and I'm like, I don't know what's going on, okay? Like, just because I know her don't mean that I know the situation. But trust and believe, I will find out. The police get there. And they separate the group, all right? And they leave one inside, and they take the other one outside. Tamara and her friend are the ones that are taken outside, right? They're talking to the police. Everything is fine. More customers are coming through. Everything dies down, and it seems like they're just handling it, and they're going to let them leave at separate times. All glass out of the front. Girl, all of a sudden, I finished with a customer and I watched this customer walk out. And what do I see? Tamara handcuffed on the side of the curb outside of my Ross. And I'm like, what happened? My manager comes inside. He comes up and he was like, that's your friend? I was like, well, I mean, yeah, like, you know, we was homies in high school. I was like, why? I was like, what happened? He was like, well, your friend sure does have a lot of warrants. You don't know her situation. I watched Tamara get full on detained and put into the back of a squad car. And she gonna have the audacity to be in the back seat. And she looked over at me and she's like, no. How about no, girl? Very random moment, very weird connection between two parts of my life. And that happens a lot, especially like if you move a lot and you meet a lot of people. Sometimes the storylines, they start meshing like this. And it is so weird when that happens. It's like seeing your teacher outside of school, a ratchet version. Y'all gonna ask me if I ever called her? Yes. Call it messy, investigative. Okay. She was, you know, held up in jail for a while. I didn't really know when to call. I felt like it was kind of inappropriate and awkward. And the more time that went by, I just didn't want to. So I don't know what happened and the whole tea about the situation. But it just seemed like my customer, she was so nice. I think my customer had slept with old girl's dude at some point or another. And it was on site. Y'all that work at Ross, y'all let me know, because I've had like friends like get into it with like other friends there. Like I've had best friend groups that I've gone to Ross with. We go inside their friends, we come out fighting. Everybody trying to dress for less, girl, so you never know who you're gonna run into. I ain't gonna lie, I was entertained that day. I went home thoroughly entertained, okay? After that, you know, my managers, my coworkers, they're like, what happened? And like, who is that? And like start questioning me. And I was like, hey, I've gone to like a billion schools. So like, I didn't really feel like explaining the correlation. So I was like, yeah, I used to go to school with her. That is your story time for today that I wanted to share with you guys about, you know, kind of the pros of working for retail. You can see some messy stuff firsthand if that's what you into, okay? But judging by the fact that you are here right now, I know. It's okay. Just kidding, but I love you guys so much. Thank y'all for being here. Thank y'all for chilling with me. If you're not subscribed, I would love to have you. Y'all be good for me for the next few days, and I will be back with another video. I love you, but God loves you more, and I will see your fine self in my next video. Peace out, y'all.